Steve Schmidt, observations.
I mean, that's 30 years.
Well, you see a real diminishment.
Well, by the way, you said that's 30 years. I mean, your father at 85
I know.
was speaking in complete paragraphs. Winston Churchill at 71.
Hold it now.
We are the TV doctors of America.
Look, this is worse when you listen to the president on radio, absent the visuals of TV, and it's not the first instance. He is clearly slurring his words. I don't know what the cause of it is, but when you combine it with Bob Corker's critique that the President of the United States is unstable, that he's dangerous, when you look at the private comments that are made by members of Congress around his stability, you look at his actions in recent weeks, we look at the reality that on this day we talk about the Churchill-Roosevelt relationship where the President of the United States is welcome in the United Kingdom, where there is a consensus amongst both parties in Great Britain that his presence next to Her Majesty the Queen is an unconscionable assault on her dignity by him standing next to her. When you look at all of it, this is worthy of discussion. The question of his fitness, of his stability is in the air. And it doesn't get better when you see clear impairments. I don't know.
I'm not a doctor, but I play one on TV.
Is that a tooth problem? Is that something else? Presidents every year typically go to the Bethesda Naval Hospital for a checkup. This president, to my knowledge, is departing that tradition. We don't have updates on his health. We don't know what's going on, but this is a legitimate issue, worthy of consideration. This is the man who commands America's nuclear arsenal. And that video, that speech, that impairment is chilling.
Well, if this isn't the time to talk about it, I don't know when is. Only thing I will say is at the beginning of the speech, before the slurring started, I said, Mika, look at him. This is not the person that we knew even 3 years ago. And you can go back. We showed you a clip from 87. We could show you a clip from 97. We could show you a clip from 2007. There's a remarkable change.
There was, he seemed like he was almost hanging on to the prompter and hanging on to the words. Something, I don't know, I mean, you could definitely see the difference in the video we just showed you, but in the entire presentation,
he's struggling.
There was a struggle happening.
I think that's all true. One thing I will point out is only 2 weeks ago, I think, in that same room, the diplomatic reception room, where he had that moment where he had to reach for the water because he had such dry mouth. As I watched him perform there,
maybe he's under
I think
stress.
his mouth was dry and he didn't want to reach for the water and have another water moment. So that's one explanation.
Doctor poses.
That's right, there is that, and that was noticeable on that clip that we just showed. But when you consider his age, his physical condition, he does not look in great physical shape and hasn't for some time. The anxiety, the worry, the burden of knowing that Bob Mueller and the special prosecutor is out there investigating nearly every aspect of his life and his family's financial life, and the fact that he doesn't really know the mechanics, the nuts and bolts of what he's talking about a lot of times.
It's scary.
So last week, the president tweeted something about me.
That's the other thing, Joe.
Remember, you don't respond.
Remember, you don't respond.
He's tweeting at 4:45 in the morning.
I understand. And a lot of people, every time he does that, people want to know why I'm not angrier. Why Mika and I weren't angrier when he did the bleeding face tweets. Why we weren't angrier during the middle of the campaign. When he called you, what did he call you?
Psychotic? No, neurotic.
Neurotic.
Low IQ also.
Low
right?
IQ.
Low IQ.
Low IQ.
I remember that.
Crazy Joe.
I have such a low IQ, I can't remember.
Psycho Joe, that's right. Which rhymes. I wish I would have called my band that. Psycho Joe's pretty good.
Internal rhymes.
Internal rhymes. But we don't take it personally, and we don't take it personally for a reason, and I'm going to be very careful with what I say here. I will just say, there are many things that you don't take personal from people who are struggling with certain issues because their personality changes. And that's something I've dealt with in my family.
Yeah.
And you just sit there and you're like, okay, that's not the same person that I knew, and I'm not going to judge them
But the
for
country
what they're
is a
doing.
mistake.
Unfortunately,
You need one of the adult formulas from Vicks. For the cost adults get, with the strength adults need.
in the case of my mother, I could move that to the side at the beginning, and I'm totally fine with it. In this case, Donald Trump has control of nuclear weapons. And we have, listen, if we can't talk about this now and trying to be as careful as we can, I don't know when we can talk about it. And it's not just about this speech, it's about so many things that have happened. And even as I said, at the beginning of the speech, I looked at Mika, I said, look at him. He's just not the same person.
Yeah.
And one final thing here.
Oh, these resistors resist. Hillary resisted, and you know what happened? She lost the election in a landslide. But you know what they're really resisting? They're resisting the will of the American people. That's what they're resisting. Look, it's being proven we have a rigged system. Doesn't happen so easy. But this system, going to be a lot of changes. This is a rigged system. This is a sick system from the inside.